How would you like to leap into a Daedric plain and do battle with wild animals, strange elementals, and werewolves? I'm Jason from MMOHuts.com, and today we're going to talk about Elder Scrolls Online, Wolfhunter. Last week I had the pleasure to sit down with some of the Elder Scrolls Online team to play one of the two upcoming dungeons in the Wolfhunter expansion called March of Sacrifices. This dungeon is essentially a wide-open Daedric plain, which sounded incredibly exciting. I was not disappointed, even though I had to choose between this or Wolfhunter Keep, which is also tied to the experience. But March of Sacrifices is what I wanted to tackle, because it honestly sounded way cooler. It's a section of Hircine's plain and is known as the Hunting Grounds. Occasionally, Hircine will open up the realm to hunters, and the Great Hunt will take place. Those hunters will look for a hare, but the actual quarry is typically anything but. Our particular target is the Tarsier. Success will grant these hunters a boon, and before we went in we saw several groups of other hunters that surely won't hassle or deter us at all in any way during this dungeon. I'll spare as much of the story as I can because I want it to be a surprise, but we'll head through this portal and see what's known as Bloodscent Pass. Very scenic for such a grisly name. This is one of the 3 sections, and we'll also journey through the Wispwood and the Nightlands over the course of March of Sacrifices. The hunting grounds aren't new to Elder Scrolls Online, but this particular version is special. This area definitely felt like a real wooded glen with beautiful, breathtaking visuals, but something is certainly off. There are several ethereal creatures that don't quite look like they would belong in the real world, alongside ethereal plants and fungus to boot. It's a subtle reminder that you aren't in Skyrim anymore. These ethereal figures sell the color palette of the area very well. It's important to pay attention to the enemy packs as you're going through these areas, because they will tease important boss mechanics that you should be aware of. If you're paying attention, it will make these boss fights just a little bit easier. The Weird Sisters are the first major boss encounter and are arguably the easiest. Each of the sisters has an effect they can put into play which can and should be interrupted, but when they die, a creature of their aspect will be summoned to keep that ability in play anyways, only now it can't be interrupted. Each of their auras has an effect, the purple one as an example being a silence. I'll also say that you should definitely not cross the auras and keep them separate. Remember what we learned in Ghostbusters, crossing the streams is bad. I really like the blend of evil Daedric magic with the natural forest feel. It's a very potent aesthetic. It almost looks real, but then you see the eerie glowing fungus or birds and are reminded that danger definitely lurks in the air. In the second area, another boss mechanic will be made clear thanks to the Lurchers. The first Lurcher we came across was the Blaze Lurcher, and we pulled it into the blue ring. Its health was depleted by a huge amount, making it much easier to kill. Each of these Lurkers and Spriggans are dedicated to a particular season, so if you move it into the aura that is opposite of it, that will make them a lot easier to deal with. The second boss is a name I'm going to butcher, the Aghaid of the Solstice, and this is where we put the earlier fights into play. There will be several Lurchers and Spriggans that are summoned into this fight, and once they're destroyed they will drop a seed. Players who fail to grab one of these elemental seeds will take an extraordinary amount of damage when the AoE goes off. There's also special colored beams tied to these, and you don't need to stand in the appropriate colored one, but doing so will give you an extra protection. In the original version of this battle, they required you to also get in the right color, but with the hectic nature of this fight, the dev team decided maybe we can leave that out of the normal version. One of the things that I also really like about this particular dungeon is that while it is linear, there are optional side quests and hunts to undertake for those who really enjoy exploring. You're under no obligation to do them, but those who seek out greater challenges and lore, there's certainly something for you to do here in Wispwood. Completing these 3 optional encounters will give you buffs to make the rest of your task a little easier, and there's also an achievement and a cosmetic reward in it for you, so maybe seek them out and do them. They're also a very casual challenge, so you don't have to be a hardcore, maximum item level fiend just to tackle them. The last fight I want to talk about has the Tarsier showing off some of its true power. The player party will come across another hunting party who have become the thralls of Tarsier. Now you have to defeat them, and Tarsier intercedes by launching players into the sky and dropping them back down to the earth. The 70s hit "It's Raining Men" is a very apt description for this fight. You could have spoken to this particular hunter, Dogrund the Bulky, at the start, but I chose not to. Once I found him here, I learned that while I had no idea how his story began, I knew how it was destined to end, and that's in violence. I'm not going to spoil the rest of the dungeon for you because this final encounter is pretty damn incredible. However, when you get there, you can see off in the distance a truly majestic sight. Hircine himself is standing in the horizon, looming and casting a judgmental eye over the battlefield. The constant nighttime sky is also really something special to behold. Honestly, this is probably the most interesting and visually appealing dungeon that I've had the pleasure of tackling in Elder Scrolls Online. The Wolfhunter DLC will come with this and the other one mentioned earlier, alongside Update 19, which I believe will be out on August 13th. By the time you're watching this, that update should already be out. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you stay tuned to MMOHuts.com for all the latest gaming news and reviews, as well as more content just like this. I'm Jason, and I'll talk to you again next time.